Hi there, everybody. Let's wait and see if anybody comes in. I know it's awfully early, but
Oh, it looks like we have one person. Yes. Oh, John Mahoney, bonjour. Rick Dabrowski. Hello.
John Mahoney and who?
Rick Dabrowski, Marianne Upsaw.
Oh,
Okay, amazing. Dorothy Joy.
hello, everybody. Hello, Dorothy. Hello, John. Thank you, everyone, for being with us.
But wait, we're doing it wrong. Don't you normally have the computer?
I ordinarily look at it, yeah.
Are we doing it right?
Maybe. Well, it is,
Well, let's
but it's
try it.
working, right?
I think it's working. Is it working?
Can people hear me?
I think so.
Well, let's just ask if people can hear me, to be honest.
S.R. O'Brien just joined.
Okay, can people hear me? I'm worried about the microphone.
Yes, bien sûr. Everything is fine.
All right.
Hello, Brooke.
Nice to see everybody. Well,
It's working. Oh, how wonderful.
all right. Um,
Paulina, stay. This will be good for you.
Yeah.
This is an important reading. Oh, don't leave.
Cornelius Ryan's The Longest Day. We happen to be in Normandy, June 6th. This, by the way, Cornelius Ryan, Irish-born journalist, as may be screamingly obvious from his statement, including the cigarette. But boy, what a masterful work! And I was reading. This is the Modern American Library, or the Library of America version. And I was reading today some of the letters that Cornelius Ryan wrote as he was looking for support to do this book. And he talked about the fact that this was in the late 1950s, that at that point, most of the histories of the D-Day invasion had been told from, maybe understandably, the standpoint of the officers who were involved in the planning and people they could find and reach. He wanted to tell something from the vantage point of the people who were in the landing crafts. So,
can I interrupt you? John Mahoney says the Hammond Bears say it isn't so, Joe. Yes, this has been a subject of consternation
yes,
here.
it has. The news reached all the way here. Didn't Macron say he thought it was an outrage, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh, Fanchon. Hello, Fanchon.
Fanchon.
How nice to see your name.
Yes, the Hammond. Well, the hell of it is, John, they will still call themselves the Chicago Bears, even though they're in Hammond. It's like the New York Giants. All right. It occurred to me today, we all have much in our lives to be thankful for the sacrifice. These youngsters, and many of them were youngsters, made 82 years ago today. And I have my family to thank for that. So let me read. Cornelius Ryan writes, this, by the way, is Omaha Beach. It was H hour. They came ashore on Omaha Beach, the slogging, unglamorous men that no one envied. No battle ensigns flew for them, no horns or bugles sounded, but they had history on their side. They came from regiments that had bivouacked at places like Valley Forge, Stony Creek, Antietam, Gettysburg, that had fought in the Argonne. They had crossed the beaches of North Africa, Sicily, and Salerno. Now they had one more beach to cross. They would call this one Bloody Omaha. The most intense fire came from the cliffs and high bluffs at either end of the crescent-shaped beach. In the 29th Division's dog green area to the west and the 1st Division's fox green sector to the east. Here the Germans had concentrated their heaviest defenses to hold two of the principal exits leading off the beach at Verville.
Verville?
Verville.
I'm not sure.
And toward Colville.
Colville, yes, Colville-sur-Mer.
Everywhere along the beach, men encountered heavy fire as their boats came in. The troops landing at Dog Green and Fox Green didn't have a chance. German gunners on the cliffs looked almost directly down on the water-clogged assault craft that heaved and pitched towards these sectors. Awkward and slow, the assault boats were nearly stationary in the water and literal sitting ducks. Coxswains at the tillers, trying desperately to maneuver their unwieldy craft through the forest of mined obstacles, now had to run the gauntlet of fire from the cliffs. Some boats, unable to find a way through the maze of obstacles and the withering cliff fire, were driven off and wandered aimlessly along the beach, seeking a less heavily defended spot to land. Others, doggedly trying to come in at their assigned sectors, were shelled so badly that men plunged over the sides into deep water, where they were immediately hit by machine gun fire. Some landing craft were blown apart as they came in. Second Lieutenant Edward Gearing's assault boat, filled with 30 men of the 29th Division, disintegrated. In one blinding moment, 300 yards from the Vieilleville exit at Dog Green. Gearing and his men were blown out of the boat and strewn over the water. Shocked and half drowned, the 19-year-old lieutenant, imagine. A lieutenant, so he was an officer of some rank, and he was 19. The 19-year-old lieutenant came to the surface yards away from where his boat had gone down. Other survivors began to bob up too. Their weapons, helmets, and equipment were gone. The coxswain had disappeared, and nearby one of Gearing's men, struggling beneath the weight of a heavy radio set strapped to his back, screamed out, "For God's sake, I'm drowning." Nobody could get to the radio man. For Gearing and the remnants of his section, the ordeal was just the beginning. It would be 3 hours before they got on the beach. Gearing would learn he was the only surviving officer of his company. All along Omaha Beach, the dropping of the ranch seemed to be the signal for renewed, more concentrated machine gun fire. And again, the most murderous fire was in the Dog Green and Fox Green sectors. Boats of the division coming into Dog Green grounded on the sandbars. The ramps came down. Men stepped onto the water 3 to 6 feet deep. They had but one object in mind: to get through the water, cross 200 yards of the obstacle-strewn sand, climb the gradually rising shingle, and then take cover in the doubtful shelter of a seawall. Weighed down by their equipment, unable to run in the deep water, and without cover of any kind, and were caught in crisscrossing machine gun and small arms fire. Seasick men, already exhausted by the long hours spent in the transports and in the assault boats, found themselves fighting for their lives in water, often over their heads. Private David Silva saw the men in front of him being mowed down as they stepped off the ramp. When his turn came, he jumped into chest-high water, bogged down by his equipment, watched spellbound as bullets flicked off the surface all around him. Within seconds, machine gun fire had riddled his pack, his clothing, and his canteen. Silva felt, quote, like a pigeon at a trap shoot. He thought he spotted the German machine gunner who was firing at him but could not fire back. His rifle had clogged with sand. Silva waited on, determined to make the sands ahead, and finally pulled himself up on the beach and dashed for the shelter of the seawall, completely unaware that he had been wounded twice. Once in the back, once in the right leg. Men fell all along the water's edge. Some were killed instantly, others called pitifully for the medics as the incoming tide slowly engulfed them. Among the dead was Captain Sherman Burroughs. His friend Captain Charles Cawthorne saw the body washing back and forth in the surf. When Captain Carroll Smith passed by, he could not help but think that Burroughs, quote, would no longer suffer from his constant migraine headaches. Within the first few minutes of the carnage, one entire company was put out of action. Less than a third of the men survived the bloody walk from the boats to the edge of the beach. Their officers were killed, severely wounded, or missing, and the men, weaponless and shocked, huddled at the base of the cliffs all day. Another company in the same sector suffered even higher casualties. Company C of the 2nd Ranger Battalion had been ordered to knock out enemy strong points at Pont de la Percée.
I'm not sure, Sweet Pea. Whatever you're saying is perfect. Point de la Percée, yes.
West of Villeville. The Rangers landed in 2 assault craft with the first wave on Dog Green. They were decimated. The lead craft was sunk almost immediately by artillery fire, and 12 men were killed outright. The moment the ramp of the second craft dropped down, machine gun fire sprayed the debarking Rangers, killing and wounding 15. The remainder still set out for the cliffs. Men fell one after another. Private First Class Nelson Noyes, staggering under the weight of a bazooka, made 100 yards before he was forced to hit the ground. A few moments later, he got up and ran forward again. When he reached the shingle, he was machine gunned in the leg.
Darling, did you choose this section?
I did. Why?
Okay.
This is what they face.
Yes.
Should I find another
No,
section?
no, keep going. You obviously chose it for a reason.
As he lay there, Noyes saw the 2 Germans who had fired looking down on him from the cliff, propping himself on his elbows. By the time Captain Ralphie Goranson, the company commander, reached the base of the cliff, he had only 35 Rangers left out of his 70-man team. By nightfall, his 35 would be down to 12. Misfortune piled upon misfortune for the men of Omaha Beach. Soldiers now discovered many had been landed in the wrong sector. I see what you mean.
We are remembering them, but it's a hard section.
All right. Stopping up and down the sands, occasionally massaging his arthritic shoulder, was Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt, grandson. The 57-year-old officer, the only general to land with first-wave troops, had insisted on his assignment. His first request had been turned down, but Roosevelt had promptly countered with another. In a handwritten note to the 4th's commanding officer, Major General Raymond O. Barton, Roosevelt pleaded his case on the grounds that it will steady the boys to know I am with them. Barton reluctantly agreed, but the decision preyed on his mind. When I said goodbye to Ted in England, he recalls, I never expected to see him alive. But the determined Roosevelt was very much alive. Sergeant Harry Brown of the 8th Infantry saw him, quote, with a cane in one hand, a map in the other, walking around as if he was looking over some real estate. Every now and then, a mortar burst on the beach, sending showers of sand into the air. It seemed to annoy Roosevelt. Impatiently, he would brush himself off. As the third wave boats beached and men began to wade ashore, there was a sudden whine of German 88 fire and a shell burst. A dozen men went down. Seconds later, a lone figure emerged from the smoke of the artillery burst. His face was black, his helmet, too. It was at that instant. Sorry. His equipment was gone. He came walking up the beach in complete shock, eyes staring. Yelling for a medic, Roosevelt ran over to the man. He put his arm around his soldier. "Son," he said gently, "I think I will get you back on a boat." On the beach near the approach to Exit 2, Roosevelt was about to make an important decision. Every few minutes from now on, wave after wave of men and vehicles were due to land. 30,000 men, 3,500 vehicles. Roosevelt had to decide whether to bring succeeding waves into this new, relatively quiet area with only one causeway or to divert all other assault troops. If a single exit could not be opened and held, there would be a nightmarish jumble of men and vehicles trapped on the beach. General huddled with his battalion commanders, and the decision was made. Instead of fighting for the planned objectives which lay back of the original beach, they would drive inland on a single causeway. Everything now depended on moving as fast as possible before the enemy had recovered from the initial shock of the landing. Resistance was light, and the men of the 4th were moving off the beach fast. Roosevelt turned to Colonel Eugene Caffey of the 1st Engineering Special Brigade. "I'm going ahead with the troops," he told Caffey. "You get word to the Navy to bring them in here. We're going to start the war from here." Can I read just a little?
Yes, of course.
Hey. I won't read the entire story of Pointe du Hoc, which I know you're.
No, but you could read some of it.
Now, on this great and awful morning, the last phase of the assault from the sea began. Along the eastern half of the Normandy invasion coast, Lieutenant General M.C. Dempsey's British Second Army was coming ashore with grimness and gaiety, with pomp and ceremony. With all the studied nonchalance the British traditionally assume in moments of great emotion. They had waited 4 long years for this day. They were assaulting not just beaches, but bitter memories. Memories of Munich and Dunkirk, of one hateful and humiliating retreat after another, of countless devastating raids, of dark days when they had stood alone. But then were the Canadians with their own score to settle for the losses at Dieppe, and then, too, were the French, fierce and eager on this homecoming morning. There was a curious jubilance in the air as the troops headed toward the beach as the loudspeaker in a rescue launch roared out, "Roll out the barrel." From a rocket-firing barge off Gold Beach came the strains of "We Don't Know Where We're Going." Canadians going to Juneau heard the rasping notes of a bugle blaring across the water. Some men were even singing. Marine Dennis Level remembers that the boys were standing up singing in all the usual Army and Navy songs and Lord Lovett's for Special Service Brigade commandos, resplendent in their green berets. The commandos had refused to wear tin helmets. It doesn't seem very smart, but were serenaded into battle by the airy wailing of bagpipes. As their landing boats drew abreast of Admiral Vian's flagship, the commandos gave the thumbs-up salute. Looking down on them, 18-year-old able seaman Ronald Northwood thought they were the finest set of chaps I'd ever come across. So, June 6th. It's a epical work. Thousands and thousands of names, the research that went into this. Absolutely amazing. So, thank you very much for being with us. Any questions? Or?
No, it's the longest day, a bridge too far.
A bridge too far is also very good history of the landings at Arnhem. And you know who was there?
No.
Audrey Hepburn.
Really?
Audrey Hepburn's family was from Arnhem.
And was evacuated.
And it was evacuated, yeah. And then she winds up playing Eliza Doolittle. So thanks very much for being with us tonight on our open book. Take care. See you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.